That's it. We need to call a consulting agency.
I agree. Okay, but who can we call?
Now when I was a little boy, at the age of 5, I had something in my book.
Cop!
Keeps a lot of folks alive.
I'm back!
I'm 21.
Cop!
You know, baby, we can have a lot of fun. I'm a man.
Thank you. At first, let us see the background. In the background section, we have a small industry overview. We all know on-the-go communication has been becoming a more and more important part of our daily life. So the telecom industry is rapidly expanding, and the market is really competitive due to the oligopolistic market structure. And probably service is the only way to differentiate here. Europe is one of the most saturated markets, and the penetration rate is well over 100%. We have calculated that the churn rate for Europe is around 25.7%, which shows that the customers are switching brands. Now let us have a glance on Diz, the company. Diz is a large multinational telecom company which has operations in 17 countries across 3 continents. Service differentiation is their competitive strategy, and they have been successful in maintaining fairly strong financial records throughout the years. They have done this through consistency in innovation and good service, and focus on employee satisfaction. They have identified themselves as a socially responsible company, and their mode of entry is by means of acquisition. Now, to come up with the elaboration on the issues and the conclusions, I would like to invite Rumi.
Thank you, Rafat. And these are the 12 issues that we are going to talk about today. And the first issue at hand is the CAS error. CAS is an integrated IT system for Diz, and for the first time, it used an outside contractor for the implementation of CAS, which resulted thousands of customers being overbilled, and at the same time, there was a significant drop in the service level. Now, let's see what are the potential solutions that can be made for this problem. This can either continue with the current contractor or return to the previous CAS or take legal action against the contractor. Now, return to the previous CAS can mean a significant amount of resources and time to go back there. So, we are actually recommending strategy 1 and 3 to be implemented. But at the same time, first of all, any strategy that Dish take, it initially issue a public apology for the error, and at the same time carry out promotional campaigns, for example, offering free SMSs to compensate somewhat the customer who have gone through losses. Now, the next issue is on hand is the PRP, or performance-related pay. According to the HR director, that is likely to increase the productivity by 3.5% and wage level by 5%. Now, let's see whether this proposal is practical in terms of suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. It is suitable for the European market because European market actually follows the differentiation strategy compared to the Asia or African market, which actually follows cost competition strategy. So we are actually recommending this strategy implemented for the European region and not for Asia or African region. And it is also acceptable because it is likely to increase the quality of the service, and also the company have the financial standing to implement the proposal. So we are basically recommending this to implement the proposal in Europe only, and at the same time promise similar scheme to Africa or Asia in the future. Moving on to the next issue, in the fictitious country E, these have problems in terms of network coverage and reliability, and the regulator have proposed a penalty of 5% of the total ARPU, and the only way to get out of the problem is to invest a one-time 80 million to replace the present transmitters. Now let's see the SAF analysis. It is suitable because important component of the service is likely to improve. It is acceptable because there is a high growth rate which is very lucrative from the Dish point of view, and it is also feasible because the fine that need to be paid is more than the replacement cost. So we are actually accepting the proposal, and at the same time these also need to maintain a proper communication with the government regarding the implementation or setting up the transmitter so that they can avoid the fine that they are going to be paid. The next issue in hand is the security threat. Recently, this has been attacked by the hackers more than ever before, and it poses the possible legal dispute that may arise in the future. Now, let's see the viable alternative. We have divided those alternatives into two parts, long-term and short-term. For example, using state-of-the-art of technology can be categorized as the long-term planning of this, for example, providing access code built into the SIM card or handset. And in the short term, these can actually improve awareness of the security features. For example, they can sort of motivate the customer to use more password and greater encryption. And at the same time, this can also align with software security provider like Kaspersky, who also provide solution for the Tier 1 handset as well. Now I invite Amit to carry on the presentation.
My first issue in hand is about Asia. Asia is the fastest growing market for Dish, and according to the marketing manager of Asia, its marketing drive is targeted towards the children via their parents at special rates. This is both suitable and feasible from the SAF test. It is suitable because the Asian market is very promising, and it is feasible because the company has the financial backings to support the proposal. Its acceptability is a matter of concern because marketing to children is an ethical gray area. Still, we recommend to accept the proposal, but strict adherence to ethical issues in communication needs to be maintained. For example, specialized handsets with optimum SAF are to be offered in order to limit the radiation exposure to the children. Moving on to the African market. Africa provides a staggering 36% margin for Dish, and this is the highest for this company. Currently, the CEO of Africa has resigned. This leads to the possibility of transfer of knowledge to the competitors. Out of the potential solutions, continuing operations with CEO of Europe does not seem to be a very good idea because he holds a negative impression about the African market. And we believe Dish is not yet prepared to alter the organizational structure. Hence, we strongly recommend Dish to take a very positive initiative in order to settle disputes with the resigned CEO. If that is not possible, then they may even assign a new CEO, preferably from the African region. Additionally, the CEOs and the boards should work in group in order to avoid such future disputes. The next issue in hand is the shop-in-shop proposal. According to this proposal, a 10-year lease contract needs to be signed by Dish with a major departmental store that offers space in 100 such stores. Now the question arises, should Dish sign the deal? Let's see what the SAF analysis tells us. It is suitable from a branding perspective, but it fails to be acceptable and feasible at the same time. So our recommendation here is that DID should reject the proposal because of the negative NPV and consistent negative cash flows and that we have found out in our study. The next issue is the organizational structure. Currently, DID is following a matrix-based organizational structure. The group finance director has proposed to shake up the structure and dissolve the posts of CEOs. Let's see what the SF analysis tells us. It is neither suitable nor acceptable, but from an economic point of view, it seems to be feasible. But still, we recommend it strongly to reject the proposal because it may spur shock in the board. And we believe maintaining flexibility and responsiveness in all the three regions in which DID operates is virtually impossible without a CEO. And now I'd like to ask Pratik to come up and present.
Thank you, Amir. Good morning, everyone. The next issue this faces is about Kaesung, a handset manufacturer, a second-tier handset manufacturer based in Eastern Europe, which is ready to be sold out at only 10 million euros. Now the question is, should DIS acquire Kaesung or not? Let's have a look. It is not suitable because DIS is a mobile phone operator and not a handset manufacturer. It is not acceptable because DIS does not operate in Eastern Europe and does not have the know-how of the market. Thus, the returns are uncertain. Finally, it is definitely feasible considering the financial standings of DIS. However, I would like to state that we have considered the fact that the second-tier handsets could be used in the African and the Asian markets. However, we would not want DIS to brand themselves as the second-tier handset provider. Moving on, we have another 3 additional issues which are of cause for concern for DIS. The first one is the negative cash flow. From the cash flow analysis we have done, we can see that there is a reduction in the free cash flow from 2011. And to make things worse, in 2014, there is a negative net cash flow, which is definitely a cause for concern for DIS. Now, what are the possible alternatives we have? We can offer right issues. We can borrow 2 million as debt financing. We could bring down the dividend payout ratio, or we could simply ignore the negative cash flow because the cash balance is still positive. However, we should not take the debt because it is against the company's objectives. We should not bring down the dividend payout ratio because that would likely reduce the share price. We should not ignore the negative cash flow because we have seen consistent negative trend in the cash flow generation after 2011. Moving on, we believe that this should take more CSR activities like these. They could launch SMS campaigns on the awareness of social issues. For example, in Africa, they could they could spread more awareness of AIDS through SMS, which would save millions of lives. Moving on, the other problem we have is the feasibility of projections. We believe that the projections which have been provided to us by DIS are rather over-optimistic. Why? Let's have a look. First of all, the growth of customer base in Europe. In Europe, the penetration rate is well over 100%. In fact, it's around 120%. So we don't know, according to the projections we have been given, that growth rate would be 60% in 5 years. We don't know how this is going to achieve that. Next up, given the post-recessionary period, the given growth of ARPU is definitely challenging. And finally, no sensitivity analysis has been done, which is very crucial for any financial projection. So what are the options we have? We could reassess the estimate, we could redo the calculations altogether, and we could do sensitivity analysis. And considering the time and resource constraints, we'll carry out the reassessment of the estimates and do sensitivity analysis to make sure these are more accurate. Now I'd like to invite Refaid to make his concluding remarks. Thank you.
Pratik. Let us move on to the notes. We have prepared and we have posted our analysis here based on various business models and other analysis. And those models and analyses are available for the show in the reference model. And we have derived several conclusions from this. Some of the conclusions are here. What we have seen is that DIS has been performing pretty well with very good financial records. So they should carry on with more of the same policies. In addition, what they can do is they can identify new avenues for revenue. For example, one-stop services, just like what Telefonica did. And they should broaden